Hello, I'm Dale and welcome to Left Seat Culture. This is the channel all about general aviation here in the UK, whether that be flying adventures, pilot tips, reviews, or generally just trying to help make flying a little bit easier and hopefully more enjoyable. So one of the things I get asked quite often in the comments of videos is whether I could make some videos on SkyDemon, specifically how I tend to use SkyDemon because it's featured in pretty much every video on the channel. Now, there are already some absolutely fantastic tutorials out there covering kind of every menu and every button and every feature. So rather than trying to recreate those, I thought I'd focus on some real world situations that I think private pilots actually find themselves in. So today's example is one that I think can catch a lot of us out as pilots. You've kind of carefully planned your route to remain outside of controlled airspace, but then ATC comes back with something like Golf, Juliet, Echo, Tango, Bristol radar, clear to transit controlled airspace via Bath, not above altitude 2,500 feet. Fantastic! But now your carefully planned route isn't actually the route you're about to fly. So in this video, I'm going to show you how I quickly update my route in SkyDemon to reflect what I'm actually going to be doing and fulfilling the request or the instructions that ATC have given me. So before we jump into SkyDemon, I just want to make a few things clear. The process I'm taking you through isn't necessarily how I plan every single flight, but generally when I'm flying near controlled airspace, my preferred method is always to plan for the worst. So I just generally assume that I won't get a transit. That way, for example, if Bristol simply tells me to remain outside controlled airspace, I've already got a perfectly legal route planned and I can simply continue without needing to think about it. If I do get a transit, then obviously that's great, that's a bonus. And this same kind of principle applies, for me at least, to weather, any temporary restrictions, or anything else that might happen to affect your kind of original planned route. So my goal here is always to have a workable plan first, and then I adapt if circumstances either improve or need adjusting on the fly. Okay, so let's use a real potential example. So here we're going to fly from Gloucester down to Dunk as well, and I've deliberately planned a route to remain outside of Bristol controlled airspace. So if we zoom in here, we'll see that the route bends right around the edge of the zone rather than cutting straight through it. And that's exactly how I'd normally plan a flight like this. And a couple of things I always do is I always use kind of key potential reporting points, so like Wadswick, Norton St Philip, over to here, Taunton. So if obviously asked kind of what my routing is, I've got some very clear distinct routes as opposed to just kind of dragging the magenta line kind of anywhere that we want it to be. So if we simulate the flight,
new META received for Gloucestershire.
Kind of underway. So let's say we're just here past Bowl Down. We've already communicated with Bristol Radar and we've asked them for a transit, and because they're in an exceptionally good mood today, they come back that they're going to basically clear our transit. So Golf, Juliet, Echo, Tango, clear to transit controlled airspace via M4 Junction 18 and Cheddar Reservoir. So if you're not familiar with the airspace, you're suddenly looking at this map whilst trying to fly the plane, trying to work out where everything is, and then you might be panicking going, okay, right, I found Junction 14, I'll try and drag the magenta line up. Oh, it's not dragging. So then you have to double tap the line to then be able to drag it, and you kind of drag it up to junction 18, sorry, and it's all starting to get a mess, and obviously you're trying to fly the plane. So you don't actually want to do that. So I just come back out of this and go to undo and then start the simulation again. The easiest way to adjust a route like this, so you can focus on navigating and flying the plane, is if we get back to this similar kind of situation. So we're here again over Bolden, Bristol radar have told us that we're clear to transit the Bristol airspace via M4 junction 18 and Cheddar Reservoir. So again, instead of trying to find those, we just tap on the kind of magnifying glass for search at the top there, click on waypoints ahead, and then if we scroll down we start to see them. So again, just down here we see M4 junction 18. We touch that and we tap take shortcut. Now it's automatically adjusted our magenta line, and obviously then we come back through to Wadswick because it's still on our route. But again, they told us M4 junction 18 and Cheddar Reservoir, so we do the same again, waypoints ahead, scroll down, and if it's within the vicinity of where we are, I can't remember what the radius is, about 40-50 miles, something like that, but we will see there Cheddar Reservoir as well. So again, we can take shortcut for that, and now we have our route adjusted for the magenta line, following the instructions that we've been given via ATC. Obviously now when we're transiting their airspace, as we go through in here, if at any point they ask us for a position update, obviously SkyDemon is then telling us what our current position is, what the ETA is to the next waypoint they've given us, and everything is good. And then the rest of our plan just continues on. So again, we come out of Cheddar Reservoir and then our next stop is going to be Taunton. So this is just really good. Obviously there's a couple of ways of doing it. Another one is obviously you can also press the SkyDemon button in the top left hand corner and press direct to as well. So again, depending on what information you've been given, unlikely in this situation of course, but if you needed to kind of divert or something, go to Wadswick, you could press direct to Wadswick, and now it's kind of appended your journey there as well. So some of you watching this video might be thinking and wondering, why is this worth doing? Because after all, you could just keep following the magenta line in your head. But for me, the reason for doing this is that SkyDemon is constantly calculating useful information kind of for you that you kind of might benefit from or need to communicate. So if your route isn't accurate, neither are your distances, neither are your arrival times. So when you're asked for position updates or anything like that, it's not going to be as accurate as it could be. Also, your fuel predictions and other things that you've calculated are obviously going to change because your routing has changed and the journey you've taken has changed. So by taking a few seconds to update the route, everything stays relevant for the remainder of the flight. And as you can see, it's really easy to do in SkyDemon. So before everybody rushes off to start editing routes in flight, there is an important point to make. And it's probably obvious, but I think I should say it anyway. Don't become so focused on the tablet that you stop flying the aeroplane. I know it's a cliche thing and we always say it, but it really is important. The priorities are always aviate, navigate, and communicate. So obviously what that means is if you're in turbulence, if your workload is high, if ATC are talking to you, or you simply don't feel comfortable making that change immediately, don't do it. You don't want to feel pressured to put yourself and the flight at risk. Your number one priority is to continue flying the aircraft. There's absolutely nothing wrong with leaving the route exactly as it is until you've got a quieter moment. So essentially, if you need that little bit of extra time, just let ATC know, tell them to stand by, and then kind of come back to them when things are a little bit more under control. They would much rather you flew the aircraft safely than try to update a tablet or something whilst overloaded. So never forget that. So obviously my example is about kind of navigating around controlled or navigating through controlled airspace, but this isn't a useful technique just for that. The exactly same techniques work if you need to kind of navigate around weather, avoid kind of active parachute drops, divert to another airfield, add a fuel stop, all these different things, or simply, as we mentioned, if you want to accept a direct routing from air traffic control as well. Once you know how to adjust a route really quickly, you'll probably find yourself using it more often than you think, because perhaps you always thought you have to kind of hold and drag the line and try and find something whilst under pressure. So hopefully you found this video useful. As I said at the start, this isn't intended to be some kind of complete SkyDemon course. Instead, I'd like to perhaps build a series of short videos that answer real questions from private pilots and demonstrate practical techniques that then you can use on your own flights. So if there's a particular kind of SkyDemon feature you'd like me to cover, or a situation you've come across and weren't quite sure how potentially you could deal with it, let me know in the comments below, and I'll see if I can kind of do something that's educational and useful. And obviously, if you've enjoyed this video, please give it a like, as it really helps the channel. And if you're not already subscribed, I'd love you to have along for the journey here on Left Seat Culture as well. So as always, thank you very much for watching. If I'm really lucky, I'll see you in the next one. But until then, fly safely.